there, this is Ben Stubbs of the Flamenco Guitar Podcast. This is a live stream. We don't do these very often, at least up until now. But in this live lesson, I want to give you some perspective on chord changes, some ways that you could reduce hand fatigue, and ways that you could memorize chords quicker and make those transitions more fluid, easier, faster, okay? So I'll give you some examples of how to do that and which chords we'll be using. And if you already know how to play the guitar and you're switching over to flamenco guitar or Spanish guitar, or nylon string guitar, you'll notice that you'll encounter some chords that, or chord voicings rather, that are a little bit different than ones that you might be used to. Before we get started, let's go ahead and tune up. You might just be grabbing your guitar as well, and it might not be in tune. So in order to enjoy your instrument, you want to have it in tune. Hey Mike, Happy New Year. Good to see you. If you're stopping by, if you're watching this live, don't forget to like the video and type in live in the comments so I know that you're watching now. If you're watching this in the replay, type replay in the comments. As you can see, I use a tuner. Just use a clip-on tuner, a piezo tuner. There's nothing wrong with that. As you get older, your ears drop down in pitch, and you start listening to notes in a different way. There's some research to back that up, but I just kind of intuitively believe that. Thanks, Mike. Okay, I'll give you another minute to tune up your guitar. So if you stick with me to the end of this video, you're going to know all the tips and tricks that you need to have to change chords with fluidity and ease, like I said. And there's two things that we're going to talk about, two tips that are key to changing these chords quickly and easily. But first off, if you're dealing with hand fatigue and your thumb gets really tired, that's totally normal. What that is just your muscles adapting to a response that you're producing against the neck. So for instance, if I'm doing a G major chord like this, and I'm holding it for a duration of time, I'm going to get this burning sensation in my thumb, and it's right here, this part. It's going to be burning, really. That's normal. But what happens at a certain point, it starts to fail. That's where you want to get to. You're not going to hurt yourself holding a bar chord, okay? No one's ever hurt themselves holding a bar chord, unless there's a prolonged injury in your thumb. But if you hold it and you're doing different things on the fretboard, let's say maybe you're stretching out like that, and you're feeling that burning, that's just an indicator that you need to build up your muscle strength or your hand strength over time. It doesn't take very long. It's not like building up a larger muscle. So that's the good news. The bad news is no pain, no gain. So if there's no pain being had, there's going to be no muscle stimulation, no growth. So if you feel that pain, go for it, okay? Let those muscles kind of fail. Once that happens, shake it out, let your hand rest, and then go back to work again. So the chords that we're going to be talking about are, let's say, E minor to B7. These are common chord changes between rumba, sevillanas, you name it. There's a lot of the songs you could be doing between E minor and B7. So these two share something in common. So this thing that they share in common is the second finger. And the second finger is what we call the anchor finger. So we're going to define the anchor finger as a situation where you have one finger in common in the fretting positions between the two chords. So we have E minor and B7, and they virtually share nothing in common as far as fretting, except for that one finger. And I'm going to zoom in right here, and it's that one right there. Your second finger playing the note on the B. E minor, B7, E minor, B7. See how I'm moving around all my fingers. My first finger moves away. My third finger moves from the second fret of the G string to the second fret of the D string, and my pinky comes off between those two. But that one remaining finger is your second finger. So we call that the anchor finger. That's when there's at least one finger in common between the fretting positions of the two chords. Okay, so remember that. I'm going to quiz you at the end. So E minor, B7. Let's do a sevillanas. The tendency when you're learning new chords or new voicings is to take everything off and then put it back again. So this is an optimal. Thanks, Leo. Good, thanks for stopping by. J.E., hello and greetings from Finland. What's the weather like there in Finland? Is it pretty cold right now? Tell me. So going back to this thing, this whole action. So if I zoom in here and I'm jumping from E to B7, this, and up like that, like I was saying, that's not optimal. So what we want to do is retain that second finger right there. Let everything else jump, but retain that second finger on that second fret of the B string, or sorry, the A string. See how much easier that is if you don't jump all over the place? You just keep that finger anchored there. So that's the secret. That's the one tip. When you have one finger, at least in common between the two chords, in this case, E minor and B7. If you're just jumping in on this live string, we're going over Spanish chord changes, flamenco guitar chord changes, and how to make them happen quickly and cleanly as you're changing between the two. Leo, we're going to get into that arqueo that we're doing here. But just to make it simplified, let's just do down-up hand movements for the right hand while we're just getting the hang of this. So down, up, down, up. This is MA right here. Down, up with the pulgar. Just jumping in, E minor, second finger on B, third finger on E, open G, B, and E, like this. B7, inverse triangle, fourth finger on the F sharp here, open, third finger on the second fret of the G string, first finger on the first fret of the D string, and second finger on the second fret of the A string. Okay, now the right hand. So what's going on with the right hand for the sevillanas? We do a downward golpe and thumb movement at the same time, followed by the index up, down A, down I. A little bit slower. Down thumb, at the same time, golpe with the anillo finger. And then up index, down A, down I. That's a triplet with the index, A, index, triplet, and then chord change here. Keeping that second finger here on the second fret without lifting it. Is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. So that's E minor to B7. That's just one example. But what if you have two chords that have no fingers in the sharing in common of the fretting positions? Let me give you an example of E major and then F major 7. That's like a F major chord, but with an open B and E here at the top. Like that. So if we look at those two chords, what do we see? We see nothing in common. E major and then Everything comes up. So in this instance, if we have nothing in common, no fretting fingers, we're going to have to use what we call a method of tracing fingers. Tracing fingers is where you take a particular finger in a chord, and then you just trace it up or down a string, and then either it ends up, in the same place or a different place. So in this case, our tracing finger we want to designate would be the third finger, most likely. I prefer the third finger between here. So we have the third finger on the E note, and then we trace it up just half a step to F like this. But at the last second, we take it off that string and move it to our C note here, which is on the third fret of the A string. That movement, once again, E right here. I'll move my pinky out here so you can see what's going on with my third finger. Trace it up here to the F. Okay. And then we make our F, C, and our F there. And also here, the A. Trace up with the third finger. And also the second finger could aid us in this tracing movement. As well as the third finger, it traces up to the third fret here. And at the last second, just take those, shift them this way, and then the third finger and fourth fingers right here, they grab a hold and they take control like that. A little bit slower. That's the tracing, okay? So once again, we define the tracing finger as that situation where you have two chords, but there's no common finger or fretting position between the two of them, okay? So in the comments, just as a quiz, what technique is used when you have a finger in common, one of the fretting positions of the two chords? What do we call that? Write that down in the comments if you know what that is. Leo, you're asking about golpe. So this golpe here that we're doing is with the annular finger. This goes on the golpeador like this. And we'll zoom in here. And you can see my nail. It's not too long. And you want to get an even balance of flesh to nail like this. So a little bit of thump and a little bit of nail. As you're doing that, you're hitting the thumb or striking the thumb down the bass strings like this. That's a movement that happens simultaneously. So as you're hearing this, you're also hearing this at the same time. My wrist moves down slightly. My thumb does the majority of the movement because it has to strum all those bass strings and the G string. And the A finger remains rather stationary. The other golpe that we're doing is a downward index rather. So we're doing downward index and golpe with the same annular finger. The first one was down thumb, golpe with the annular finger. A little bit slower. There's an index down. These two chords might seem kind of tricky to match up while you're doing this fraqueado, because you're doing a triplet as you're switching down from the F to the E. I'll show you what I mean. Triplet, 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 triplet. So we have got those two techniques. What was the first one? If you know what it was in the comments, write it down. That's where you have both the fretting positions between the two chords have one in common, which is, if you know what it is, anybody know? It's not the tracing finger, it's the, what is it? If you know, write in the comments. Okay, so that's how we want to change our chords most effectively, by using those two methods. Leo, you ask, can you show in speed? Sure. So let's do a tempo at 112, I believe. 108. That's rather slow. Let's speed it up. Let's go to 120. If you want to speed it up even more, let's go to, let's say, 144. And once again, the compás is 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for sevillanas. See what I'm doing here? This is a trick right here. So rather than doing the switch, I'm just doing a slide up above, half a step. So that's the next thing we want to go to. When you don't have any tracing fingers, see if you can figure out if there's a way to do a tracing finger, simply by taking the same shape of the chord and doing it up half a step like this. So what I would be doing is taking an E major and then sliding up half a step. The problem here is that the E string, if you play it, it sounds kind of muddy, right? So you could remedy that by omitting that low E as you do the F. By doing the downward index and golpe right here, but not playing the low E. Okay, but if I play that last one in compás, the E to F7, okay, and going back to the E minor to the B7. Like that. Okay, so we got those two. Aref, this is going to be available afterwards, so you can replay this and fast forward to the end to find out what the happy message I have to offer you is that right now I'm opening up just less than 12 spots now into a program. And if you're interested in going where you're at on the guitar, the flamenco guitar in particular, from a novice level, maybe you're switching over to flamenco guitar from another style, steel string, folk, maybe even classical, and you want to go to that next level. You want to go to that high level of proficiency to where you feel comfortable playing in front of others, in front of a group of 12, maybe 2,000, whatever the case may be, and also enjoy just playing flamenco guitar for your own enjoyment. You could potentially work one-on-one with me. Just give me a call. The link is below in the description, and you could book a call with me there. Here, what we do is we take people who are on the flamenco guitar and they're just, maybe they know some techniques. Maybe this is you. Maybe you know a couple pieces, but you're stagnant because you have no guide. And to be frankly honest, is that the fact is that you don't have a teacher to show you all these things. You're just going to be scrolling about YouTube, and you're finding all these different things, and you're just going to hope and pray that you find the right techniques and somebody's showing you the right way. But chances are you're going to have some deficiencies there, basically, to be quite honest. So you're going to need a teacher. I needed a teacher. I needed several teachers over the past 20 years to be able to even play and know all the techniques and repertoire properly, and to be able to play with others and to play in front of an audience with ease and comfortability. And I want that for you too. So if you click on the link below in the description, you could book a call to schedule your consultation call, and we can get started from there. The enrollment ends on January 28th from the time of this video. for the program, and I'd love to speak to you about that. So act fast because spots are closing very rapidly before the end of the month. Okay, with that, let's look at the comments real quick. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I apologize. Godave, great content. Thank you so much. Leo, do you have a sound to suggest me to play with a looper? Sure. If you're playing with a looper, try and keep it as simple as possible. Maybe just a single loop pedal, maybe not a station, unless when you're just starting out with a looper. Just go with something like with that little red Boss stomp box is a good one to use. I don't know if that answers your question or not. If it didn't, just resubmit it in the comments. Ref, you say just keep the video so we can download it later. Yes, we will be doing that. Ko, Happy New Year. 2023 is here. Yes, it is. And Ko, you celebrated it quite earlier than we did here in the States. So kudos to you. Leo, I started flamenco 1 year ago and I took a good level, but I feel like I'm stagnating and I can't progress. Yeah, precisely. That's what we want to do in the program. What we do is we show you how to properly study and practice. So these are two different things. Study is different from practice. What a lot of us think is that you have to practice 8 hours a day to become proficient at the guitar. I would not recommend getting close to that. Would not recommend that. People in the profession of physiology and sports medicine, all that jazz and stuff like that, from all the literature I've read, is that that's not good. In the worst case scenario, it could lead to focal dystonia. So you'd have a disorder basically between your hand and your brain sending the signal, and that can possibly, for a small percentage of players, be a result of overplaying. So we don't want to overplay. And in the program, I show you how to use the proper practice and study habits and techniques so that you're not practicing for exceedingly amounts of time. Getting close to that amount of time, 4 hours or so, that's for performance level. That's for top tier level. If you're looking to play for others and to do a legit performance of a set list of 6 to 12 songs or so, you don't need to be practicing that much at all, depending on the repertoire that you have. So we can get you started on the right path in my program. So just click on the link in the description to book a call with me. And with that, if you have any more questions, just put them in the comments. But it's pretty much all the time that we have left right now. And once again, if you're watching this in the replay, just type replay. Another question here. Do you offer help? Yes, Leo. So you just click on the link in the description and you'll be able to connect with me one-on-one, and we could do a free consultation call to see if we could be a good fit to work together for the new program that's coming up. And once again, spaces are limited. They're closing on the last day, January 28th, from the time of this filming. And with that, we will see you next time. Take care. Happy playing. Like Frank Zappa said, don't stop and keep going. Take care.